It's a new era in Bangladeshi politics. Without her veteran leaders, with new faces and a host of issues, voting in Bangladesh has now ended. This is, remember, the first election in Bangladesh after Sheikh Hasina's ouster and Khaleda Zia's demise. Barring some hiccups, the voting process remained largely peaceful across the country. The counting of votes is currently underway. There are, remember, 2,034 candidates in fray, but only 299 will come out as victors. Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, led by Tariq Rahman, and Jamaat-e-Islami, led by Shafiqur Rahman, are eyeing the top job. Both men represent different styles of politics. Jamaat chief's policies are guided by what they call religious principles, while Tariq Rahman represents BNP's long-standing centre-right political agenda. Let's take a deeper look at the political journeys of both these leaders. Rahman's political journey began in 1980s. He joined the BNP as a general member and campaigned alongside his mother, Khaleda Zia, in the 1991 national elections. In 2002, he was nominated as the senior joint secretary, and by 2005, he was spearheading grassroots conferences nationwide. Tariq Rahman was arrested during the military intervention in 2007, and he was later sent abroad for medical treatment, where he remained in exile for 17 years. Now, moving on to the other Rahman. Jamaat chief Shafiqur Rahman is a political veteran who began his journey in 1973 from the left side of the political spectrum. A decade later, Rahman pivoted to Islamist organization Jamaat-e-Islami. He also contested elections in 1996, 2001 and 2018 and became chief of Jamaat in 2020. 2 years later, Sheikh Hasina's government put him behind bars on charges of supporting militancy. These charges were dropped by Muhammad Yunus-led government in 2025, opening the way for Shafiqur Rahman to stage a comeback in electoral politics. Apart from the parliamentary vote, remember, the citizens of Bangladesh also gave their verdict on a constitutional referendum. This proposal is called July Charter, which puts term limits for the Prime Minister's post, the creation of a new upper house of the parliament, stronger presidential powers and greater judicial independence. Sheikh Hasina's Awami League has been barred from polls. The party's absence has left its large voter base without their primary choice. The tilt of Awami vote could be a deciding factor for these elections. Remember, Sheikh Hasina herself is currently living in exile and has called these elections a sham, demanding its cancellation. The country's interim leader, Muhammad Yunus, meanwhile, has expressed gratitude to the voters for holding peaceful elections. Overall, the voter turnout stood at about 48% till 4:30 p.m. local time. Opinion polls vary widely, though most give BNP the lead, with some suggesting a knife-edge race. Results will pave the path for Bangladesh's return to democracy. And let's also listen from the voters themselves on what they think about this entire election process and what are their expectations from the upcoming government.
17 years there was only one government. I want something different, like someone who will make this country more developed in front of the whole world, somewhere more that will have morality and some leadership qualities that will not harm the people, and they will think about the poor people and their distress.
When the Awami League was here, people used to think that is how the country will run forever. We also thought that we didn't have any other options since there was no scope of change around us. So I feel very lucky that this day has come.
I hope the country moves toward a better direction. We suffered a lot with terror, enforced disappearances and whatnot.
Let me go across to Dr. Nikhil Deb. He's an assistant professor of sociology at the California Polytechnic State University. He's joining us live from California at the moment. Let's get his perspective on what he thinks about these elections. Dr. Deb, welcome to WION. You know, all the parties that are in fray, whether it's the BNP or the Jamaat, they're both saying that victory will be theirs. Jamaat is saying the election has been excellent. BNP is saying that victory is inevitable for their party. Who do you think, whose victory do you think will actually benefit Bangladesh?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this great question. I think, at least given the current context and given what has been going on in this country for some time, I think a somewhat centrist or more progressive party is required to establish and to promote as well as to uphold the spirit of the pluralistic foundation of the country. So in my view, I think BNP has a better shot and they have a better chance to win the election. However, it's too early to say anything very conclusively about the result of this election. But again, in my view, given what has been going on in this country for some time, including during the interim government's administration, we know that a particular party has exercised tremendous amount of power in the past 1.5 years. And it was, of course, the right-wing Jamaat-e-Islami party. And I don't think actually Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh has ever had any popular political mandate. And given the history of Bangladesh and its pluralistic tradition, I don't believe actually Bangladeshi people will cast their vote or will actually have enormous support for a party that is so extreme right and that does not really uphold its, again, traditions and its culture in a significant way.
But Dr. Deb, that's where the next concern arises. Many people say that, look, the BNP might win these elections, but then you get the Jamaat-e-Islami party as the largest opposition party. That itself could be a concern because there will be pressures from the opposition party if the BNP wins and forms the government.
Well, that's a very good question. But on the, at the same time, I would like to press on another aspect. I mean, I think it is also relevant to this kind of question regarding what kind of democracy we want in the country. And it is actually, I believe, there is, of course, excitement about that election, and it is understandably a very much awaited election in the country. But at the same time, I think it was unwise. It was unwise to arrange a national election while excluding a major historic political party in the country, Bangladesh Awami League. If, any particular members of the party committed crimes, and of course they should be investigated under the law, but banning an entire major political party and their activities, I don't think actually was a wise and democratic decision for the country. And a democracy requires pluralism, right? And it requires multiple parties to compete freely in a national election. But I think, again, if I understand there are discontents, there are dissatisfactions, but at the same time, it is a major political party in Bangladesh, and they should have been allowed to participate in the election. And if they did, I'm sure, Jamaat-e-Islami would not have that big shot in this election. And as you said, as an opposing force, they could put tremendous amount of pressure on the government if it is a BNP-led government after this election.
So Dr. Deb, there is the rise of Jamaat-e-Islami as as an opposition force. We don't know the results yet, so we'll have to wait and watch what really happens. But there is the rise of Jamaat-e-Islami. There is the Awami League that has been banned. And amid all of this, you said that Bangladeshi citizens need to decide what kind of democracy they want. And in that context, they also had a referendum to vote on, which has been gotten by Muhammad Yunus, the chief advisor. Where do you think that will head? That limits, the Prime Minister's term. There is an upper house of the parliament that is proposed and several other proposals in that referendum. In that context, how do you think this is going to move forward? What do you think that result could be?
Well, that's again another very legitimate question. But at the same time, based on my experience speaking with so many people, so many friends of mine in the country, I don't think that actually many people in the country do even understand the importance of that referendum. Yes, it's, I think, part of an effort to make some reforms in the country, especially electoral reforms and curtailing the power of prime minister in the country. But in my view, a major failure of the interim government's administration is to address the administrative reform. And anyone in the country knows very well that administration has been so partisan, and the partisan likeness is so deeply rooted in our political culture, in our democratic culture, that it's even difficult to hold even a fair and free election. And you see, a few Jamaat Islami leaders were caught on video camera bribing people, and those instances and reports could have been enough to cancel their nominations, but we didn't see any major actions. So in my view, I don't know again what is the future of that referendum. It's too early to say about that. But again, based on my perception about what people think in the country, they don't even have a good understanding of what the importance of that referendum in the first place.
Okay. So let's wait and see what the results have for both the general election as well as the referendum. Dr. Nikhil Deb, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your perspective.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Let me also go across to Siddhant Sibbal, our correspondent who is there at the moment in Dhaka. He's been tracking the elections there. Siddhant, it's been a long day for the citizens of Bangladesh as well as for people like you who've been getting us the latest from ground. But at the moment as we speak, the counting is underway. Get us more of what's happening there. Where has it reached? When can we expect early trends coming in?
Well, we'll get to know the early trends very soon. I'm standing in front of the Bangladesh Election Commission, and in the Election Commission, we'll see the address in a short while from now. Perhaps in that address, we'll get to know the first elements of who is winning, who is losing. Also, remember that it's going to be a long night, but a long day tomorrow here in Bangladesh, where not only the election results will be declared, but the government formation, what kind of government we will see, is something that we will be looking at. We know that people of this country have a sense of tiredness for last 2 years, and they want a government which is stable, that delivers and brings in good governance.
All right, Siddhant, we'll keep coming back to you for the latest from Bangladesh. Thanks very much for joining us at the moment.